We may not be able to get in on the hurling action like we're used to, but we can get in on some exclusive offers from Renault. To celebrate their third year as official car partner of the GAA, Renault is offering a range of special offers exclusive to all GAA club members. So now you can take home the win right to your door. Check out renault.ie/GAA to find out more.
With Renault, official car partner of the GAA, taking the passion of a nation to a whole new gear.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lads.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Come on, Mayor, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
Morning, folks. How are you all doing? Jeez, there's a flag after appearing in the Limerick screen there. Are you there, TJ? I'd say you're shook today, so you're not here. Are you there?
Morning, boys.
And the home ground is in the background there as well.
How are we all doing?
Congratulations, kid.
Sure, look, you'd have to be positive and upbeat and everything that went well for us yesterday. It's a great occasion, and look, we're fortunate that it's green at the moment and living in the moment. And the Crow Park yesterday was magic, and even afterwards and this morning everyone's in good form. So no, I'm fresh today, Dalo. I didn't have any traffic was slow coming home last night. Ourselves in Cork coming home the same road, so last night didn't have much of an opportunity.
I thought a lot of the Cork crowd were gone down early, TJ.
Yeah, I heard a rumor. I heard a rumor that some of them were gone early. Yeah. But
I took the sunny southeast. Went down the Wexford Road.
There was rumor that Marco you were seen leaving the ground in the 60-something minute. I'm not sure if it was true or not, right? But it was rumored.
I could have left after 5 or 10 minutes, to be honest with us.
Yeah, but no,
I had to sit and suffer. I sat and suffered for 65 minutes, TJ. I was, but I didn't hear Dolores or Riordan. I think I was gone that far down the M50.
You were gone, yeah. Tell the usual story. So last night, quiet. I have a table booked in Limerick today with my buddies, my experts in hurling, Leslie Whelan and co. They are ready for me there at 2:00. And in fairness, Dalo, your good buddy Hugh looked after me really, really well on Saturday night in the Boar's Head. It was a great night there, and the crack was good. And it was good in terms of getting a crowd of people to the match.
It was a who's who of Irish sport, was it?
Yeah, in fairness, no.
Was it who's who there Saturday night? I went up last night for a couple of pints. There was some host, in fairness, but I heard it was a who's who of Irish sport.
Yeah, we had a good time now, and we had a great banter there and stuff. And look, that's the beauty of All Ireland finals now, from me kind of hurling in the ditch, that you can go and enjoy them on the Saturday night and the Monday, and I don't have to worry about all the things that Liam had to really, really strongly worry about for the last 3 years. So it's an awful lot easier, Liam. So welcome to the other side.
I'm looking forward to it, TJ. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, on that, just for our listeners there, delighted lads, honoured to be joined by one of Tip's greats, indeed Portro's greatest. Sheedy, how are you, kid?
Good, Dalo. All good. I suppose we went to Crow Park yesterday. I couldn't get over the atmosphere before the game. It was just electric when the parade was going on. It was just you felt it was building up to be a really, really good game. And so look, unfortunately, we got an anti-climax thereafter. In fairness, I think 1-5 to 1-4 after 14 minutes. It was set up nicely after Cork replying with their goal after Limerick's goal. But I think once Limerick got that second goal and put that 6 or 7 points in it, really there was only one team in it. They were just awesome. And in fairness, we probably poked them with that first half performance in the Munster final, and it probably gave John Kiely all the fuel he needed. Not that he needed much of it, but if he did have any need of fuel or oxygen, we probably gave it to them because obviously getting in with such a lead and the way they turned it around in the second half. And to be fair, they've been awesome ever since. Every quarter they're just a phenomenal group, and it seems to be very, very well grounded, really well managed. This excellent backroom team around them. They really have it at a supreme level, and they look like a team that are going to be hard to knock off their perch, because what we've seen yesterday, no matter what part of Ireland you're from or part of the world you're in, you could do nothing but applaud what was a 5-star performance.
Yeah, for sure. You summed it up great there. And we said it here on the Monday after the Munster final that probably if you win the championship, you couldn't right away for what he had going back to training on the Tuesday, Wednesday night, whenever they went back, because they were delighted, they won it, big rivals came back, sure, unbelievable third quarter, all that. and yet he could go in and scald them like on the Tuesday, Wednesday night, like, and comprehensive against Waterford. And I just felt, and look, there was a kind of a Corkness feeling in us all. We were down Friday night in Park Keeve, and just to say, like, thanks to all our listeners, what a response to the live show Friday night. It was massive, and we really enjoyed it. And with John, he was great as well. But you just got a feeling like, is this Cork team like? But in actual fact, like, they were probably just building to their best performance of the year, a la maybe the Cody era in Kilkenny, where it was probably easier for them because they'd come out of Leinster easier.
Yeah, I suppose I think there was a case of all boats were rising in a high tide, Dalo, with the other 20s and the minors. We did go with what we thought was a legitimate chance, but I suppose once our team didn't turn up, I think our team was dismantled by a brilliant Limerick performance, and they never allowed the team or the Cork supporters to get going at any stage, and that is a big part of, I think, the Cork mantra is the supporters getting in behind the team early doors. And we saw with the early victories in the minors and the under-20s, they hit the gas immediately, got out in front and catch me if you can. And where we did put up a bit of resistance in the first quarter, it felt like Limerick had the upper hand all of the time. The amount of Limerick players that found themselves in space on a constant basis, particularly in the half-back line. Declan Hannon had an outstanding game, and Kyle Hayes seemed to be open all of the time. He just had no one within 30 or 40 metres of him. And he didn't even take off on any of his trademark runs, to be honest with it. He went for a bit of a jog up the field in the first half, and there was hardly anybody could even get near him. So, and then the space that was created in front of the Cork full back line. And look, we spoke at length how Cork would deal with a two-man inside line. And I can truth, we conceded 3 goals. Probably Garrod Hoigerty should have scored another one. And every time the ball seemed to go to the full back line, from Patrick in a second, brilliant. We just did struggle in that facet, and we should have known in advance like that the Limerick half forward line were going to push out Garrod Hoigerty, Cian Lynch, and Tom Morrissey, and they did, and they created huge space in front. And it was noticeable, and Liam, you'd notice now from managing, the first thing that Connacht did after the first quarter is he went straight out to the field, to the 3 inside lines, and he basically, I would say, said, lads, there's goals there, and I'm going to concentrate on you. If you get the ball, enough ball, you'll finish this game by half-time. And I think that was kind of summed up the whole game. Cork were a bit naive at times. But look, lads, I said it last week, Limerick are the finished article. Cork are still a work in progress, there's no doubt about that. There is artillery coming, but it needs to come a bit quicker, I suppose, if we're going to have any chance of dethroning this magnificent Limerick team. And I suppose, TJ, if you used technology there a couple of years ago, you'd probably have 4 All-Irelands in the bag, and you'd be going for 5 in a row next year.
Steady on now, steady on, Landry, steady on.
TJ, everything okay on the technology front?
I'm still happy to go world technology. To be fair, like, look, I go along with everything you said, and as I said, it's great to be on the Limerick side this morning. What happened in 2019 might have defined the team for the coming years coming after. They might have learned the last. Like, the reality is, and in fairness to John on the day, they took it on the chin. They said that Kilkenny walked them in the middle third of the day. They didn't start well. That might have been a platform for what came afterwards over the coming years. So, look, to be fair, in 2019, to be fair to Liam, Tip won the All-Ireland. That is the history, that is the reality. They were deserving winners. But what happened after that, they've kicked on and they've been magnificent. But I suppose to put the Munster titles to 3 in a row, to put the league titles with the All-Irelands, like, it is comprehensive at the moment. It is a credit to them, credit to the backroom team and everything they're doing, and just looked awesome yesterday in terms of just really, really ready for the big day, ready for everything that was thrown at them. And like Friday night, as we said, I was a little bit concerned that if Cork got that second ball right, that could they get the ball onto the grass and could they make the pace work? But geez, we didn't see any of it. And like, outside of Shane Kingston's goal, there was never a threat really of pace inside. So they just got on top of that, and they just do all those things really, really well. They make it look simple, but look, the couple of goals, I think when Cork look back at them, I think you're right. I think they would be disappointed. I think they were a little bit at 6s and 7s. And I suppose in terms of the formation, whether they went zonal or whether they went man for man, it seemed to be kind of neither here nor there at times. And like for Garrod Hegarty's second goal, you'd be kind of wondering, how can you have Garrod Hegarty in the top of the left position literally in 50, 60 yards of space, and nobody with him. Like, so there'll be question marks for sure. But right now today, I suppose we just have a team of a lifetime. We have a couple of players of a lifetime. And I know we'll go and talk about Keane Lynch in a while, like, mother of God, what he's doing to oppositions. And I don't even know. We can touch on it with Liam in a while. I don't even know what the counteract is. It's nice that they would deploy Niall O'Leary. I thought it would have been a good move for them, but that didn't happen. But I'm not sure it would have worked, Mark. I'm not sure.
I know, but we did discuss it at length, and the two of us had come, and we hadn't been speaking to each other during the week. We both came up with the same conclusion that it would suit Cork better if Niall O'Leary went out centre back, and if Mark Coleman actually went back to pick up Peter Casey, because he would be in that sweeping role in the position that Casey picks up kind of as a loose corner forward playing outside the D. So we thought that might be applied, that Cork might have a chance, but I think it was just maybe too much of a risk. But we did know that Mark was going to struggle on Keane, because Keane drifts all over the field, and Cork didn't want to allow, we say, Mark Coleman to be sucked out of the centre. And that's where we were coming with the view that Niall O'Leary would pick him up from, and then have a Luke Meade maybe slot back. And we had also mentioned that John Melrick was going to be a massive loss to Cork, and that actually turned out to be a real. Look, I don't think of no bearing whatsoever on right, but early doors, it would have been a big help if we could have got in front. And obviously, the concession of the first goal, I mean, Luke Meade, in fairness, has had a fantastic season. He tried something, it didn't come off, and we got punished big time.
Dalo, I was coming down the car last night in the match, and my young fella Cormac was with me, and he was laughing at what Dalo said to Brian Hogan about lock that whore in now, he's going to have to listen to me for half an hour. So he told me to reply to Landers this morning to say, lock the door now and listen to this.
You'll be switching to horses very quickly now. We get the chance.
No, I was actually, we're not talking about the senior match anymore. We're going to talk about the 221s and the minors that we're after within this show.
Wait, shut up. Liam, you sort of, to try and read it right, Liam, you kind of deployed Dan McCormack to pick him up in the Munster final, if I'm reading it right. Yeah. A certain amount of success for 20-25 minutes. Now, he's such a good player. I made the point yesterday that he played whatever way you like. And eventually that day, he made a couple of high catches. But I mean, I just thought the way Cork went about, like for me, why not put Damien Callahan on him and play Coleman as a sweeper and shore up in front of Young Downey and the two cornerbacks, the three of them, the stride. Like, it was just complete 6-on-6. Like, the whole Corkness get to him, or is to take him on mano kind of like, and or is it just a machine that's too slick that it's impossible to break down? I mean, you were 10 ahead of him.
Yeah, we were, and but I suppose the job we asked Dan to do that day was a very, very high energy job, because he was covering Keane for all the restarts. So we wanted our structure right in the restarts, because Nicky Quaid is an assassin with that ball in his hand, and I think maybe is somewhat of the unsung hero in this Limerick team. I think he makes an awful lot happen and tick from that goals. Appreciate Owen Murphy's a brilliant shot stopper, but to me, if I was buying a player, I'd buy Nicky, because I think he's incredible at how he distributes the ball, and he's in tune with all of his outfield players. So we had Dan probably double jobbing, where he'd drift back for the puck outs back on Keane, and then look to get back out into the middle and be part of the action. And that took a lot of energy. But if you go back to that day, Dalo, like, Keane probably had 3 outstanding catches, and where he fielded the ball overhead down, which is not an easy thing to do. So even though we had given him special attention, he was still able to go and grab that restart and pull it out of the sky and win a free or take you on. He's just, I think John Kiely deserves a huge amount of credit, because, if you go back to when we played him, we probably thought we had a job for him in midfield the first day in November last year. And next thing we went down, and Keane was posted to centre forward, and Kyle Hayes was sent back to wing back. And I think the two of those changes have really made a massive transformation of that team. And I think John Kiely deserves huge credit for that. And I'd agree with Mark. Watching the game yesterday, I could not get over the amount of space that Kyle Hayes ran, because I actually thought in the first round of the championship that Limerick got a bit of joy, or Cork got a bit of joy, because Kyle Hayes likes to attack into that box, but he doesn't like to defend there. He likes to defend back inside his own 65. And I thought Cork could have played where they might have got a lot of ball. If you take Noel McGrath's positioning for us against against Waterford Limerick, he got a lot of ball outside of their half back line because they don't want to defend out that far. They like to keep their structure, and we probably got a lot of returns on that. But I think yesterday the big thing for Limerick is that they disconnected the Cork half back line from the Cork full back line, and the Cork half back line didn't know whether they weren't pushing out or they weren't coming back. They were far better off if they had stand 30, 40 yards from goals and say, right, we're going to keep our structure here and let them pick off a point or two. But I think once they disconnected the full back line from the half back line, it was curtains, it was over. And I don't think Cork dealt well with today overall. I think they were out very early. They looked like a team that, just like I'd say that the whole occasion, even watching them in the parade, I was never taught that they were ready. I think it's a big occasion, and that's why look at Caroline and the impact she had with Limerick in 18 in their first final. I thought they dealt with the occasion very, very well. But I don't think Cork dealt with the occasion well yesterday, and I think that they'll learn a lot from it. But that was a setback because I think we all expected them to give a lot more than what they brought to the pitch yesterday.
Yeah.
like,
Everything, and even
the scary thing from everybody else. Sorry, Mark, but the scary thing there is right. The minors blew me away Saturday night. I say straight out, no, never saw a minor team like them. Well, of course, it's under 17 now. So, but scary thing is like the under 20 match with Cork and Limerick was nick and nick. Like that could have gone either way, that match. Like, so there's no, it isn't as if like, and we only saw Colin Coughlin for a few minutes yesterday. So they have a fair lot coming at that age group as well. So it isn't as if, Mark, you can just parachute a load of 20-year-olds in and say, go in there and Aaron Gillan, like,
Yeah, like 13 new players started in the first All-Ireland final yesterday. As Liam said, they were out early. And the first thing that struck me was that all year Cork have come out, done their warm-up in their second togs or second gear, and go back in then and come back out. And it was announced in the paper as well on Thursday that the Cork they got the clearance to do that. But when they came around, they weren't allowed to do that. So that was and that does upset fellas because their routine, and Liam would know it for being involved. Like that's over the routine, and that was I thought. Just understand that that's a plus now for Limerick, I think, because Cork are a bit like that. They don't like their routine being changed. And then just watching the touch.
Mark, how did anyone think that was going to be allowed on All-Ireland final day? With the parade back, with the president coming out to be saluted. I know there was no shake hands. With the pageantry and everything in Ireland final day that you can go back in. I was lucky to be there twice, and I remember we nearly got an agenda. This is what's going on. Man handled all that superbly. We'll do all this. We'll tell you what time. You don't worry about it. Dalo, you have to introduce the boys to the players or the president to the players, and then forget about it. And I said to Mary Robinson famously, I said when I came along to Fergie Toohey, I said Fergie All-Star Toohey, Mrs. President.
Very good, yeah.
And she said. And are you an all-star, Fergie? Not yet, Mary. He said. I tell you, and he goes out and clips 4 points on Clay in a low-scoring game. Like, that relaxed thing. I just thought watching. I'm going to agree with Liam in the parade. Come around toward the RT now down the other end of the field. I'm looking, and there's 2 or 3 of them staring out at the crowd. Not whether look. People say afterwards, look at he took it all in and then he hurled well. So look at, as we often say here, victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan. Like, it's easy. Yeah. Isn't it? Like, absolutely. It's easy talk afterwards. But I can't get over. Don Logue was still, but Mark, just to finish it, Don Logue was still saying to me at about 3:15, Cork are going in now and they'll be coming back out. You can't go in this. There's a parade here, there's a national. You can't go in this.
Exactly. Well, it was obvious when they had the Cork jerseys on them and they were numbered. And I was discussing with the fellow that was with me at the match yesterday. I says, their numbers are on, their red jerseys are on. I said, they're not going back in at all. And I knew straight away, I said, that's a win, that's a little victory there now for Limerick as far as I was concerned.
But I'd say they mustn't have found out late because the time they went out at was extremely, extremely early. I couldn't get over.
Yeah, they were out about 3. Were they out about a minute or 2 to 3 o'clock? I think roughly, but. If
5 ton nearly, I'd say.
What obviously would have solved that, Anthony, is they could have come out from the other side of the field because am I right in saying there's dressing rooms on both sides of Croke Park? So if there was an issue with going against pageantry or going against the president, that would have been a solution if that was a situation. But there are things that probably do break your rhythm and do upset the thing. And I think from what I can gather, the homecoming as well, I think was booked for Fota and it was cancelled as well as short notice. And I don't know what the lads did last night. So all those little things just didn't come off, and I've no confirmation, but I'm fairly certain that that didn't happen last night. So, and they would have been aware of that, because look, there was a big personal thing going on behind with all the players, with partners and wives and girlfriends and stuff like that. So, look, they're not all the reasons that we didn't come up yesterday, but they're all little contributing factors, maybe, Yeah, and I'm only grasping at straws here, lads.
Yeah, I spoke about that in the past about the 90s. It's like you start to make excuses.
We're doing our best for you, kid.
Yeah, when things don't go your way, right? So I don't think the way they set up themselves up tactically, the way that some of the Limerick players got so much space, you can't blame the pageantry for that stuff. Right? You're either in the zone. It looked like as if the occasion got to them to some degree. They weren't in the zone. But to go back to what Liam said there a while ago, I think JP had a super horse there years ago that won a Gold Cup called Synchronized, right? And I would say that would be one of the words I would use to describe what's going on at the moment. Us as coaches, right? We always have great plans. Like me, I can't really say that I'm in the same league as you, but you're trying to get a plan across to your players that the way you want to play, you know what you want to do, and you want them to make all the right decisions at the right time. So for Nicky Quaid's puck out, for the guys to make the runs, to create the space, to bunch and break and do all the things that you want to do, right? But the synchronization of that and the way they're completely in sync with each other. Like, they hit the ball in when it's the right time, when the move is on. They shoot from range at the right time when there's no move on. Like Will O'Donoghue and Darragh Donovan go back, go forward. As you said there, Liam, Kyle Hayes sits at the right time when it's to defend, then he pushes on. The work that goes into that and the background group, where it is, let's say, the selectors, coaches, Paul, John obviously feeding into it, the video analysis side of it, the layer upon layer upon layer, and it looks like a really slick professional. When you look at Liverpool and United and all these guys and their fullbacks and the way they're attacking, and they always seem to pick the right pass in the professional area. The Limerick team kind of remind me of that. They're just really, really slick. And as I said, the best word I can come up with right now is to just synchronized.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, but I think they were allowed work at their own pace. Like, they were allowed to do everything at an incredibly relaxed pace yesterday. I didn't see any intensity coming from Red, which I was surprised with. I have to be honest with you. I really thought they'd bring a lot more. They'd bring a lot more to the pitch. But when they're in full flow, TJ, they're a serious operation. And even if we take the second goal, which to me was a massive score. The ball, it was like, Cork ended up with 5 guys running back towards their own goals, and there's 2-on-2 inside. But like, Seamus Flanagan got the ball, and like some other players might struggle. That pass, was executed inch perfect into Aaron Gillane, smash goal. Like, sometimes I think Limerick do the basics at a really, really high level. That 10-15 yard pass, stick pass, bang, stick, bang, stick. I think they're incredibly coached.
Just on that goal, Liam, right? Again, there seems to be a mixed messaging between the two Cork defenders, right? They ended up neither being here nor there, right? As I said, I was involved in under 15 team. If you concede that goal at under 15, you'd be saying, "Geez, that's stick with your man, back yourself." Do you know what I mean? Like, Flanagan got a free hit at the pass, and like Gillane got a chance. Like in an All-Ireland final, he got a chance to tee up a shot between 14 and 21. Like, again, with no player within 10-15 yards. And I think when the Cork boys look back in that, they'll be very disappointed with that. And the same with the third goal. And the first goal came from a Luke Meade. He was obviously trying to do the right thing. So they look back on them and say, lads, jeez, like what Liam said there, what were we at?
But TJ, you have to say that
let's lining up, Marco. But Marco, lining up like Darragh Fitzgibbon over in left wing. Maybe a bit of theory in that. We're not here to slaughter the Cork management at all. No, we just I was in shock with what I was watching in the first 10 minutes. Darragh Fitzgibbon over in the left wing, maybe to try and maybe you could say the goal did come off it a little bit in that he paced my trouble Burnsy and that like, but of course Burns stays calm and drives on. But for me, like putting Conor Callahan out and Will O'Donoghue, like a young lad like coming in, you know, than William O'Donoghue, like the enforcer for me of the Limerick team in more ways than one. Like the naivety, I thought was incredible. I just have to say, and we said as well, the water breaks. Wouldn't you love to see, you said Friday night, someone going over and putting the tactics board up into the air and make a defiant statement? And I'm saying if Croke Park said to Cork, you can't go back in, lads, even though you probably thought up to 2 hours ago you could, I'd say, we're going back in. Get out of the way.
Yeah.
And if you go back in and stay in the tunnel, or go out into the area behind the tunnel, the car park area underneath there.
Yeah.
So we know we're going down this our way and take the fines afterwards. But
Correct.
You were nearly on a rollover mode all day.
It felt a bit like that, Anthony. And, you know, you're saying about Conor Cahalan coming out to map the enforcer. Was it a situation that they felt that Dalo Fitzgibbon wasn't able to do that job in the first place? So they asked the young fella Conor Cahalan to do it. And then he became the fall guy at halftime because he was taken off. And that hasn't been his purpose all year long. All year long has been playing wing forward and foraging back for the ball, gathering it, being an out man for the half back line to carry the ball forward. And he was never allowed to do that at any stage during the day. But like Dalo Fitzgibbon's form had been poor all along, and we had discussed that before the final as well. And to be fair to Cork, they got a massive response out of Shane Kingston in the semi-final when they dropped him, and he came on and he rewarded the faith in the management by his performance. And maybe dropping Dalo Fitz or not starting Dalo Fitz might have got the same result. But Dalo just has had a poor season. He'll come back from this, like there's no doubt. He's still a quality player, but he just hasn't had a good season. And he probably had a long season with Charleville as well last year. They won the county intermediate as well. So, you know, he's been on the road a fair bit, and unfortunately you get judged every time you go inside the white lines. But I thought when you look at our half forward line, and the one thing that really, really ticked me off, I'd have to say, from the start of the game, is that Seamus Hannity was played in the full forward line. Now he's the one player that you could say could bring a physical edge to the Limerick half back line, and how he ended up in the full forward line and was left inside there for the first quarter was amazing in my opinion. And like, if he was played in the half forward line, be it a 4-man half forward line and have 2 inside, because Cork were playing with 2 inside on a good bit this year, but to place him inside was all wrong in my opinion. And it's a fair credit to him that he ended the game with 4 points in play on a team that was a beaten docker from a long ways out. But he should have been played in the half forward line in my opinion, and that would have allowed maybe one of the other half forwards to move back in a 3-man midfield. That would also give help to our half back line, because we knew if our half back line was pulled out and space was afforded to the Limerick inside line, that they would do damage, and that's exactly what happened. So there were a couple of errors, I would say. And again, as you're right, Dalo, this is not a man known in advance, and that's what really would probably surprise me, of the naivety of some of the decisions that were made.
Yeah, TJ, we said Friday night, I suppose, we said, where's the second ball going to go? Do you know? And we said they'll let him have the puck out. They'll let him go to Niall O'Leary, let him go to Sean O'Donoghue, let him go to Downey. Where's the second ball going to go? And one of the stats, no, it was a bad baiting in an Ireland final, but 2-13 to 6 points from turnovers.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't see where the second ball was going to go. Kilkenny gave him that space to play that second ball. There's no way Limerick were going to.
Yeah, I thought, like Liam, that after 12 or 13 minutes, this game was kind of heading along the direction of what we knew. The second ball had worked to a degree. They'd worked it down the line nicely a couple of times. They created 1 or 2 overlaps. But it was almost like as if, going back to the synchronization, that Limerick sensed this is what they're going doing. They went after 1 or 2 puck outs. They left the puck out go short, and then 2 or 3 swarmed. Like Liam said there about maybe the passing of Limerick is a credit, and they do it really, really well. There was some of the passes in from Cork, they didn't stick. Some of the balls got spilt. There was a couple of hairy moments there. Now, I suppose let's go back to Cork for a second, right? They had 3 brilliant wins in the championship. They were entitled to be in the All-Ireland final. They had done an awful lot of stuff right. And maybe, and we said this on Friday night, like, where is the balance between sticking to your plan? This is our team. Mark Coleman's playing centre back, right? And how much do you get influenced by the opposition? And I think that that's where Limerick are kind of really playing with the heads of management teams. And because they're so strong in key positions, that they're kind of shagging your team up. But Cork kind of backed themselves, and it didn't work. If they were having another go in a couple of weeks' time, would it be different? I'm sure they probably would. But look, as we all know, it's on the day, and on the day they met a Limerick team that were just
and I actually think TJ, in the middle of the second half, the fact that Cork brought on 3 subs at the same time, I think the Cork management said to themselves, you know what, let's give these lads the experience of an All-Ireland final and give as many fellas a go, because I think the game had gone for them at that stage, and they introduced 5 subs or 6 as the course of the game went on, because Robbie Flynn went off a concussion, I think. But you know, we'll come again But we have, like, there's a big decision now to be made whether you're going with pace and quick hurling and quick movement of the slitter, because it'll take 2 or 3 years at least to get the physical. Like, if you're going to physically match Limerick, you need to have the lads need to hit the gym immediately, and all of them need to put on at least a half a stone or a stone of muscle to be able to match them physically. I don't think Cork are going to do that. What I saw out of the Cork under 20s, I felt they played an unbelievable brand of hurling, particularly against a Galway team that I thought was slightly more physical than them, but they moved the ball at pace and at will. And if that's what Cork's plan is for the next couple of years, is that's what they'll probably struggle to beat that Limerick team. Like, I'd have to say at the moment, that Limerick team looked like the Dublin footballers from 4 or 5 years ago. Physically commanding, no weaknesses all over, massive humility, fierce professional, and look unbeatable in my opinion for the next couple of years. That's no disrespect to any other county at the moment. I don't think the pick of Ireland would have beaten that Limerick team yesterday. So just coming back to my Cork point of view, we don't have that physicality. We have a lovely, wristy, quick hurling team. But if you're going to try and move around a big physical team like that, you have to hurl at pace. And you're right, TJ, there was a good few balls that didn't stick. One in particular, I think it was Niall O'Leary to Mark Coleman, where Cian Lynch came in and nipped the ball off of him. And that's exactly what you're saying. So you have to be able to nip the ball, move it quick to move that Limerick team around. And that's the big decision I think the Cork will have to make over the next couple of years.
But I think back to your point, TJ.
Yeah.
I think Limerick are playing the game on their terms. So Limerick will, as you said, and they probably are in the heads of everyone else around the country now in terms of, like, how do you get at how Limerick are structured? Because you won't, like, you could put a tracker on Jeremy Burns and Declan Hannon, and they'll probably be more or less in the same positions of the field every time they play. They really have a structure and they challenge you to try and break them down to their structure. But, like, when they play the game on their terms, they're really hard to break down. I suppose we had probably a double centre forward where Jason was playing in front of Declan Hannon and Bubbles was coming in behind him. So we had a sort of a triangle, and Bubbles was at the top of the triangle. So we nearly had a 4-man half forward line. So we were trying to play Declan from in front and playing from behind, with Jason then dropping out to midfield to pick up Darragh Donovan with Dan moving back in and picking up Cian Lynch, which meant that Brendan was a little bit free to be able to protect and not get our backs dragged all over the place. But if we felt in the first half we were going grand. We actually, as you know, we scored 216. We had 9 wides, and we probably could have got 220 in that first half. So it was moving well. Now I think we, two things. We definitely ran out of juice. It was a really hot day, and Limerick are in impeccable condition. Their conditioning is in an extremely good place. Joe O'Connor started, and Mike Kiely obviously has drove it on again. But in that second half, I felt Limerick moved the battleground and we got caught. So Limerick's midfielders pushed back in way closer to their half-back line. Their half-back line moved into, so they swarmed us there and we couldn't get the ball. In the first half, we had their half-backs going back towards their own goals, and I felt we got a lot of return from that, because if you can get Jeremy Burns or Kyle Hayes or Declan running back towards their own goals, I think you're in business. Whereas if they're facing out all the time and in control, you have to get the ball over them. But in the second half, they shifted that, and as a result, our half-back line got dragged out, and all of a sudden the space was created inside, and they obviously they battered us in that 30-yard line to 65-yard line at our end, at our forward line. They sucked the life out of us in that space and came at us and drove. So I think they have it well sussed in terms of there's never any panic. Even when they're 10 points down, they never feel like they're out of a game. They just are in a really, really good place. But they have a game plan that is very, very effective. They get the ball down, their midfielders are there to pick it up, they'll work it around. When the ball is on, it's on, they'll push it in and they'll hurt you. And honestly, they will kill you on restarts. If you go short, they'll come and get you. If you go long, they'll just snap it out of the sky and come at you. So all the time you're trying to pick holes in them. But I couldn't get over, Mark, the lack of movement from your forwards. We played Cork in the league match back in 2020 down in the park. It was on a Saturday night, And the Cork's movement in their half forward line where they were going across lines, like there was always movement, and we struggled to deal with it on the restarts that day. I looked out yesterday and Patrick Collins was standing in the goals and there was nobody moving. And in some instances there wasn't even 3 across the half forward line. So I think definitely...
Liam, do you know what? There was a few occasions where some of the forwards had their back to the goalkeeper and didn't want the ball. And we had a couple of players during the course of the game that their head... I saw 3 or 4 players coming out at half time with their head down looking at the sideline. And I thought, you know, that's not the lads like that. They're way more confident in that. But it just, Limerick sucked the life out of them. Lads, 3-18 scored at half time. It was a pulverization, like, you know. And do you know what it reminded me? I come from a small club, right? And when you were playing under 14, you'd have 6 or 7 fellas on the age, and then you'd be filling it up with 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds. And then you come in against a city team in a county final, and you find out that they have 15 fellas. They're all on the age, right? And you're looking at the corner back, and you're looking at our forward. One fella's 6 foot tall, and the other fella's about 4'3". And you're just saying to yourself, how are we going to get through these fellas, like? And they sucked the life out of you. And that's what I felt like to me yesterday, looking at them. The lads knew the game was up pretty early yesterday. And look, we're down, but we'll rebound from it, the lads.
Killa were known to play the odd overage lad. I think I was from my friends in the city. So that crowd out there, they'll be bringing them in at 16. They'll be shaving.
Dalo, I tell you a small story, right? 1981, right? I was actually playing corner forward, and I was born in 72. So that'll tell you how old I was, right? We played Brian Dillon's, I think, in the county final, and Damien Irwin was centre back, and he was huge. And the Bear Clifford, right, was playing wing back, and he was 3 years of age, right? But he was huge. But his brother, Barney Clifford, was playing in the other wing, and he was a jockey, and he was tiny. He happened to be a few days over age. I was on the county final in 1981.
They were smaller, brother.
Because they were always questioning Aidan Clifford on the other side.
Brilliant. And do you know what? We when we used to go back to West Clare playing the football, like that was the crack. And do you know, sure, it was an age like where West Clare, like, and you know, Liam, sure, been up near Clare, and the boys down south tip, should have been an alien to you, like, you know, you'd nearly know more from Limerick than you would from the, but we used to go back to West, like, to play the football. And there's no way, like, under 12, we ever went back without 2 or 3 13-year-olds, definitely. Because we figured they'd definitely have them playing, like, you know. And even to that extent, where I'm living now down in Tullycrine, and it'd be near enough to the ferry, and if we were going playing Shannon Gales or Killime or even Kilrush, we said, they'll have 2 over from Kerry lads in the ferry. So we bring 3 or 4 more, like, stop, just be free for all. You never know whether you really won it or not, like. But Liam, I just wanted to ask you, you give us an incredible insight there, and that's the best insight we've got all season on this Limerick setup. Even TJ can give us that, and because we're only watching from the stands and that, but you're down there at the coalface, you've seen so much of them. To get that insight of how ye went about it, I think our listeners will be fascinated with that, and we thank you for sharing that. I know you're out of the equation now, so you can let it off a bit. But you know, I was going to ask you, yeah, you know what I mean? But I was going to ask you, like, you've dealt with 2 of the greatest modern day coaches, I'd say, in Eamon and in Tommy. I was lucky to have Tommy for the couple of years in Dublin. Like, where does Kinnerk lie in the, you know, from what he did with Clare underage, Clare seniors, and Limerick to bring him back? Where does he lie? And where he's quiet, of course. Like the 2 boys, you won't hear much from him, you know. But like some list of stuff behind him, hasn't he?
Yeah, like it's incredible, really. You know, and again, I wouldn't know the inner workings of his operation, but you know the way that he's talked about. You know, the way he takes control of the quarters. He comes in like he just seems to be technically on a really, really different level. To be fair to him, and I think that the lads, you know, they swear by him. You can just sense where the team is with him. I think he's, you know, and again, I would say that Eamon and Tommy, the connection they had with the players is incredible, and it looks really, really of the highest order as well with Paul. You know, I think the way he has them playing, and I know they rave a lot about his games-based approach to how he does his coaching. I think everything he does, he seems to have a purpose to, and like they just like, I'd say they've done they're so comfortable in the game that he wants them to play, that they play it to really, and I actually think they love getting the chance to show what they can do when they go out and play a match. And obviously, he's got them technically really well set up. And as I said, they're imposing their game, and you know, all of us as managers we're probably spending maybe too much time thinking about what they bring in. You're trying to see how do you get the best of your operation, but you can't stop thinking about what they have coming out the tunnel as well. So it's trying to get the balance right, because I don't think Tipperary would beat Limerick by trying to beat Limerick at what they do, because they're brilliant at what they do. It's about how you can play your game and look to impose your game. But it's not an easy thing to do, because he has them really well drilled. And obviously then, you know, I'd say Caroline in the background and on the whole mindset side of things, I mean, they look like a group that just love what they do. You know, you see it now right throughout, ever since, you know, I think there was a picture of Sean Finn and Keane when they're getting down onto the bench, the All-Ireland final, they're smiling and laughing. But when they get in, when they put on the battle armour and that whistle goes, my God, they're animals inside those white lines. And Paul Kinnerk and, you know, John running the whole operation. Like Limerick are just, they're operating at a really high level at the moment, and they are hard to break down. And as you said, it's hard to see where the break is going to come, because, you know, Waterford went at them physically in the first quarter, and, you know, they'll deal with that, and they come on. We hurt them for 35 minutes, and they just sat down, came out with a new plan, and blew us away again. So, like, they are a formidable opponent, and if anything, this year they've been even further ahead of the pack than they've been before. So it's going to take a lot of effort, but, you know, that's the beauty of the game. You know, you never know. There's always someone waiting in the wings. Everyone's back down the bottom of the hill this morning, but they do look like a formidable team. And I would say, with John running the whole ship and with all the support team he has around him, and as you said, I think Paul Kinnerk stands tall. You know, having done it in football, having done it in hurling, having done it with Clare, and now doing it with Limerick, he's a serious operation, part of that operation, I feel.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. I suppose, look, you mentioned the two boys laughing, and Sean Finn, lads. Jesus, did you ever see a man as calm on a field?
No.
He's incredible. Like, he doesn't seem as if he sprints at any stage in the game, and yet he hoovers up ball mark.
He's incredible. He's just an absolute phenomenal of a cornerback. Like, and he has brought cornerback play to a new level. Like, you know, because if we had a fella like him, we'd probably be playing centre back, I would say. But he's graceful. He's so composed. He's great wrist. His skill level is so high, and he brings that, you know, that calming effect around the full back line all the time, Dalo. And, you know, he seems like a cornerback playing with a smile on his face all the time. He loves the game, and he wants to be involved with the ball. Knows how to do the right thing all of the time. Thought the lads made a very good point in the Sunday game last night. The time to Shane Kingston passed them, that if it was the old days, or without the rule, we'd say the cynical foul inside the 21-yard line, that he possibly would have dragged Shane down. But, you know, being able to do the right decisions and make the right decisions on the ball is very, very important as well. It was early in the game. If he fouled him and conceded a penalty and his team went down to 14 players, you know, that shows a maturity as well to do the right thing. He tried to do everything in his power to put Shane off his stride, to try and deny him the opportunity, but didn't go far enough to cynically foul him. That's very smart play as well. But he's showed a consistency then as well to his performance, Anthony, because he's been like this for the last 4 years. So, and like, you know, once, and I think Liam has alluded to about the backroom staff and about keeping all these lads grounded and stuff like that. You know, I just don't see them, you know, him in particular, you don't see him going backwards. Like, I don't see any of the team actually going backwards. It's actually better they're going to get, I would say.
I think also, Dalo,
Yeah.
I think a big one too, Dalo, is like Dan Morrissey back into fullback. I think has been like he caught one of the ball. He caught a ball out of the sky yesterday. I thought it was an incredible catch. And like he went in there. You know, suppose things weren't going that well when Richie got the knock and he came in. But like he just took over the mantle on the edge of the square, and I think his positioning back there, you know, he was an out halfback mainly, but I think the way he's been repositioned in on the edge of the square, I think he brings calmness and control to that back line, and you know, it gives Barry Nash and Sean a little bit of freedom, knowing that he's there all the time. I think he's a very strong protective layer, and he's always knocking around and snuffs out the danger, and I think he's a bit of an unsung hero, I think, over the last 3 games, because you know he went in when the house wasn't in great shape, and we had a few goals got in that Munster final, and he just steadied the ship, and And I think he's been a big player for them since.
Yeah, huge. And TJ, before we go on to talk about Keane, because I want to ask you, a word out for, we hope, there's no news this morning, but a word out for Peter Casey. Jesus, Keane was man of the match. He'll be hurler of the year. Casey was definitely on for man of the match, wasn't he? He was on fire. Like, however you got him off, TJ, it was worth it.
Yeah, well, as I said, I've already got a record and said he was. I think he was entitled to get off. I'm just wondering how many people tonight in the bar.
It's technology, TJ. It was technology.
Tonight in the bar are going to try and emulate Peter Casey's point in front of the Cusack stand. It was just exuded confidence and the way he stepped. And in fairness to Niall O'Leary, he's had a very, very good season, right? Cornerback, right? But they were just under the pump all the time yesterday. Beautiful ball coming in. But Peter Casey was on fire. He was just unfortunate. I think he was left on. He probably would have chipped in with another couple of points in the second half, and it would have been an unbelievable performance altogether. But really, really good. But there's definitely a nightclub or a dance move there in that score. There'll be a lot of young fellas trying it. But
no better man when he's out in case to do the bit of boogie boogie. I tell you, no better man. It's good to see. It's great to see. It's great to see two Claremen picking up. Finally, Clare guys have 3 medals now. It's 2 cases. It's great. It's great for the county. It's a great lift for us.
What I will say is, I think it's very important not to underestimate the fundamentals, right? Whilst Paul Kinnock's doing a super job, like the guys year in, year out, to keep themselves in the shape that they're in, to get the bodies and the minds right. Like there's an awful lot of work as well as the coaching. Like look, Paul does a brilliant job. It's a plan that's coached probably just down literally to everybody buys into it. It's perfected. It's very clear, and the system really works all the time. And then the second point,
trust, isn't it? It's trust. You know, when you're going well over a team, Liam, no, Mac, no, you just get at times when you're over a team that you know they're buying into you and your group totally. And I think that's a massive thing with this Limerick team. There's a trust. Liam kind of said it there about the whole mechanics of it. It's a beautiful place to be like.
It is, but the point I was going to get to was for the Munster final. Like Dan Morrissey had been coming back from injury. He came on against Cork, right? But again, they left like Richie there. They believed in the team that was there, right? And then when Gillan, like I'm not sure exactly what the theory was, when he wasn't making those runs in the first round of the championship against Cork, like they didn't start him in the Munster final. So they kind of more or less sent out a very, very strong message to everybody across the team here that if you're not prepared to do that hard work, and there is a lot of hard running in everything that they do. Huge amount of quality, like scores they get over the shoulder and all that, right? But John mentions work and hard work, and like there's numbers and targets that they got to meet every single day, right? And basically, if you're not prepared to do that, all those players now know, right, that if you're not doing it, you won't be there.
Yeah, and come here just to stick with you. Where and you're a Limerick man, obviously. Look at and you've produced the Careys and the brilliant guys over the years, and where does he rank Keane at this stage? He has a lot of years to go, like, but you know, I know Kieran on the radio on Saturday, and Kieran had said straight out that he was hard on him maybe, but he was going straight out that he was the Messi of hurling, he said. And like, where does he rank? I don't want you to rank him at 1 or 2 or 3, but he sits alongside the Reeds, I take it at this stage, the Shefflins, the Kennings, the Owen Kellys, the Nicky Englishes, you know, the Tony Kellys. He sits comfortably up there at that top table and maybe a bit above it at the moment.
Without a doubt. Like Kieran had a massive amount of natural ability himself, and he was definitely the best player I played with, and the things that he could do, the rest of us couldn't do. Keane is in that bracket. He's composure on the ball. He's just ability, like in the ruck, and even see one of the balls yesterday where Mark Coleman was fouling him, right? And that'll just show you his strength and his conditioning and his just ability just to be able to play at that level, even in the cauldron of being fouled and pulled and dragged. And he's man marked now most days he goes out. But the answer to the question is, like, he is right up there. He's going to win a second hurler of the year, I believe, right? Only Henry has done that in the past, so already he's right up there at the very top. Definitely, to me, today, I would say that he's the greatest Limerick hurler of all times, and he's only mid-20s, so he's a good bit to go. But he really makes the whole thing tick. He pulls players all over the place. He's just ability to get those flicks and get scores as well. Now 6 points in play as well. Like, he's added that to his game over the last couple of years. to me, he is really the key to the team. Like, and he's just a brilliant player, and does it all with just a natural flair. But again, I go back. I think we said this already, right? I'm not sure you can coach. No, I am sure you can coach what Keane has. It's just a natural ability and a flair. You can try and get into a place where he just absolutely he's in a setup which brings out the best in him. But there's so much of that natural, and had it from day one. So we're just very, very lucky to have him, and he's got an awful lot of very good players around him as well, which definitely helps to bring out the best in him. But in Limerick right now, the best. Like we probably have to fast forward 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years in order to be able to say where he is in the overall pantheon. But winning 200 years at this stage in his career, he's right up there.
His father should have built in Lockmore instead of going into Patrick's Well. That's all I could say. John Lynch, you should have built in Lockmore.
Yeah, like they're on about 100. They're on about 150 million for Harry Kane, Liam. Like if it was a transfer market, like he'd be topping the market, wouldn't he?
He would.
Yeah.
Would you make a bid, man?
We would. We're I saw him since he's 14 years of age. Anthony was involved with the development squads in Cork, under 15, under 16. He had a lovely little rat's tail at that stage. Was down the back of his neck. We were saying to the lads, if anybody get hold of him, if anybody can get hold of it, you might give him a little bit of a pull, like, you know. But he had that since he's 14. Like, that's my first time of seeing him, and I suppose what took me with it is the fact that he's a kit hog, I suppose, from day one. And the closest thing I saw to him was Joe Dean, the skill level that Joe had. Like, but how his physique has changed over the last 7 or 8 years is obviously tremendous as well, and that's down to the S&C coaches in Limerick. And look, Anthony, you were involved with the academies in Limerick for a fair bit, and you know that the effort and the money and the professionalism that is put into the team and the county is second to none. And all those lads, you know, you can include Sean Finch, you just look at the physique of them. That doesn't just come naturally. Lads don't grow into those bodies, right? They actually are getting that training behind it and the nutrition and stuff like that. And like yesterday was a great day for all those players, but the work that is going in the background is unseen from supporters. And I thought Declan Hannon made a great point last night when he was interviewed about, you know, the partners. You know, the last 20 months has been difficult due to COVID. Lives have moved on, and it might have been John Kiely said that some of the players, that there are extra bodies now because some of the lads have had kids and stuff like that. Like, life has moved on, but then there are still support units behind these players to take care of their gear, take care of their food. You know, when they're not at home and they're not at work, they're at training and all that kind of stuff. So we only see them on the glory days, but look at all the work that's going in the background from these players. So I suppose that word is commitment. And it's total in Limerick, and I know the players are getting it, but there's a huge amount of stuff that's going on in the background to get the lads to the position they're in now, and that has to be marked as well.
I think to build on that as well, Dalo. I think Keane Lynch made his championship debut against Tipperary inside the Gaelic grounds. I'm not sure. TJ will probably tell me what year it was.
No, I think he actually made it against Clare.
We
had a win under a belt before he kind of put the kibosh on me after that. Then.
Right. But he was playing corner forward that day, and again, Garrod Hegarty's early days in his green jersey, like, he would have been an on and off player. Obviously, he was doing a bit of football as well. But like, to see the effort they've put in to get themselves right physically, and to see the way that their performances are at now, I think that those players deserve a huge amount of credit, because, you know, there was nothing that would have said they were wonder kids. But I think the way they've gone about their business collectively as a group has been, you know, phenomenal. And obviously, you know, even TJ, back to Declan. Like, Declan had a tough day up in Croke Park in 13, missing the freeze, and, you know, there was a lot of berating done of him. And to see the guy now, he's after lifting 3 Liam McCarthy's, and, you know, is a fair chance that he'd be the first one to get his hands on it 4 times. So I just think the group themselves, they've really taken, I think, the game and how you prepare for a game and the enjoyment you can get from a game to a new level. And I think the Tips, the Clares, and all the rest have a lot of work to do to look to match that, because if you're a bit off against this Limerick side, they'll pulverise you.
Not easy. Pick the 3 to come out of Munster next year, or I can safely nearly say the 2 to come out of Munster next year besides Limerick. It's fair, it's fair tight, isn't it? From my point of view, I'm looking at Peter Duggan as bad, Clooney and Shane O'Donnell came on as a sub for Rogue, and I'm kind of consoling myself there maybe. But you're just it's round robin back and it's incredible. But look, all credit to Limerick lads, and champions of champions this morning, and credit to them. I suppose that's a talking point every year. Then it'll be the All Stars and
before we go to the All Stars.
Sorry, TJ. We've plenty of time, TJ.
Just a very quick question. There was one person asked me to come out. How do you think this Limerick team would have fared against that brilliant Kilkenny team of, let's say, 06, 07, 08? I know it's kind of a very...
it's so hard to compare eras.
So hard to compare eras, yeah. But that was
Liam have a better... Liam stopped them doing 5, so you have a better insight, Liam.
Well, as you said, it's hard to compare teams. They're 10 years apart, but there's an awful lot of similarities in both teams and in both squads, I would say. Like the strength and depth that Kilkenny had at that time, but Kilkenny were very much, they just batter you, and like their ability to win aerial possession and kill you in the air, and if it hit the ground, they'd kill you there too. And I suppose the eye they had for a goal, they were probably. To the match that I think you'd have no problem filling Croke Park with if you were ever going to get the two of them facing off against each other. Because, wouldn't you love to see Tommy Walsh and JJ Delaney lining up against Tom Morrissey and Garrod Hegarty, just to see how that would fare out. So, but I mean, doesn't that say all you need to know really, TJ, that we'd be talking about this team in the same breath as you were talking about that Kilkenny team, who I think we all hailed as probably the greatest team ever to play the game. So, Limerick are far from done yet. You know what I mean? There's some of those guys really in their prime. Declan is only 29. There's a lot of hurling left in this Limerick team. So I think this would be a match that everyone would be savouring and looking forward to. But they're up there with them. I think, TJ, based on what they've done. Like, reality is, they could have 4 in a row in the bag right now. That's how much they've taken over. They're 3 times Munster champions. They're winning leagues. They're a well-oiled machine that have no intention of stopping just yet by the looks of things.
Yeah, they're exceptional. Now, sometimes too, like in the game, it's just as happens. Your mind is kind of you don't go as far as there, right? I'm not sure. Like, definitely, obviously, nicely ahead of the pack. But Cork just didn't come to the table yesterday. Like, they had a good season to get to an Ireland final, is very good, but it just didn't happen for them. And I don't know, as it just made Limerick maybe look that little bit better. 3-18 in the first half was probably just phenomenal. And I think Cork contributed to a bit of it.
I was thinking about it last night, TJ, and I was saying, Tip have had great teams, and Liam, you've been instrumental in the last 2 great teams in Tip, but I would say they've been that bit fragmented. The Tip wins, obviously, a bit of space in between them, but to win 3 out of 4, they have to be the next best team to Kilkenny since the Cork 3 in a row team of the 70s. Fair to say, they have to be now. Fair enough, Mark?
I think
absolutely. So. No argument. There's no argument. And Anthony, the thing about it is that they're not going away. This could be a domination for another. Could be a domination for another 2 or 3 years. I would say at least, And Declan is probably, would he be the only survivor from the 2013 match, Liam? I'd say all the rest of the lads are probably all new to the game. They're all in your early kind of. Yeah.
Nicky and Graham. Yeah. Nicky and Graham will definitely would have been there.
Yeah. That's
the frightening thing was in John Kiely's interview, one of the first things he said was we're on an upward trajectory. Scary enough to hear. A lot of fellas are just back-to-back All-Ireland champions. This is unreal. Thinking ahead straight away.
TJ, can I ask you a question there? I'm just wondering, where does Rob Downey send the bill for the hurling that Graham Mulcahy broke during the scuffle? Do you know his address by any chance? Would you send it on? Because he wasn't 25 quid, I
actually think Graham I think he's actually living in Cork.
Is he? He might be able to give him a loan on him. So
you can call down and see him. Yeah, I saw that, right. There was a couple of scuffles, all right. But again, it was a bit of frustration. But I go back to the point Liam made earlier on. It is Mark. You'd have to ask, where was the intensity early doors, even after the first wall break? It didn't arrive it was played on our terms and our pace.
Yeah. I can't explain it. TJ, I can't explain it. It was quite obvious sitting in the stand yesterday that they wasn't at it, like they didn't, you know. And even Owen Cadigan now, lads, who's a really, really fit player now and in good condition, good order, like he just couldn't. He felt like a little boy in comparison to an awful lot of the Limerick players yesterday, and that's the frightening thing about it, because I thought he would bring a huge amount of physical. Now he probably 3 points he conceded to Tom Morrissey, probably happy enough not conceding maybe 6 to Cian Lynch or 2-2 to Garrod Haggerty, or 1-3 from Blade to Glen. And even though fellas have said that Downey struggled an awful lot, he still only conceded 1 point to Seamus Flanagan. But in the overall context, it looked like Flanagan handled an awful lot of ball and created a lot of scores. So, but like, the physicality. Did something happen in advance? Was there all small little things that culminated in sucking the energy? Was it the 3 championship matches in a row? I know they got a fortnight between them. I can't explain it, TJ, but it didn't bring any energy. And I suppose I'd have to say, when I looked down the field, I saw Darragh Fitzgibbon and Robbie Flynn in the 2 wings. They wouldn't be known for, I suppose, work rate would be the one word I would use. They're brilliant on the ball, brilliant, but off the ball, not so good. And then you put them in against Kyle Hayes and Diarmaid Burns. That, to me, didn't sit right. Hannah didn't sit right to be sitting in the full forward line against that particular half-back line. That didn't sit right with me. And it also created 3 inside in the Limerick full back line, which I think we would have wanted 2 inside there, Hoggy maybe and Jack O'Connor. So for me, we definitely contributed. And does that seep into the player saying, Jesus, why is he playing there? I can't answer it, TJ, today, but you'd always like to think that your team would give 100% and would go down their back fighting. I didn't see that yesterday, and that's hard for me as a Corkman to say that. And I've no axe to grind with anybody, to be honest with it. We played enough of it down through the year and seen enough of it. You just want your team to leave it all in the field. I don't think we left it all in the field yesterday, which is disappointing.
3:16 at half time from play, and you take off the number 10 young fella. You bring on his brother, not a defender, and you put him midfield. I just doesn't add up with me. I don't know. I thought it was bizarre anyway. Look, everyone had an off day, maybe. That's Highland had an off day. Some players had an off day. So look, we all have off days.
And I will say,
we're not shooting anyone else.
And Anthony, I will say this, right? I think that Limerick was so good yesterday, right? It probably just didn't allow Cork any oxygen whatsoever. They never allowed Cork to get into the game, and they obviously never allowed the supporters to get in behind them as well. I mean, it was the quietest. Like, I concur with everybody said about before the game. The atmosphere was electric. We were lucky people to be one of the 40,000 people that were there yesterday. We went to Great Lengths. I had a friend of mine who got a ticket for me in Donegal on Friday evening, and he went to meet a bus driver at 8:30 on Sunday morning to put it on the bus in an envelope for me, and my niece collected the ticket in the bus station at 12 o'clock. And like, that's the lengths that people went to get tickets. And, it's just, we were lucky to be there with 40,000 people, and we're in bonus territory, I would say, because we wouldn't have expected to be in an All-Ireland final. Just disappointed with the way it turned out. We never, ever got to grips with the game. But look, we will be back. There's no question about that. And we do have artillery coming. It's how you convert that artillery now to the senior team is the biggest question.
Dalo, if you remember back, Dalo, to the 18 semi-final when Limerick played Cork, and obviously they were nearly across the line on that occasion. But one thing that struck me that day, obviously Kieran Kingston was over the team, but Daniel Carney was wing forward, and he played very, very deep. He played out into that space out in front. And I really thought that the 2 Cork half-forward line would play out in that space and play that 10-20 yards in front of Diarmaid Burns and Kyle Hayes and try and get their hands on the ball there and pop it in over their half-back line. Because I think when Cork troubled Limerick, it was their ability to break down that half-back line was where they got it. And I didn't think Cork had any presence in that area yesterday, which I just found really surprising, because I thought Cork that day were very in 18 in the semi-final, I thought Cork were very, very tactically aware and nearly had a plan to derail Limerick. As I said, Limerick just had a super finish to get them across the line. But I was probably surprised yesterday that with Kieran over it, and again, maybe just different players, but definitely I thought they'd look to create more space and get on ball out there in that middle area of the field. And they didn't do it at all yesterday, which I just found surprising.
I think the theory behind it, Liam, was it was like as if they didn't want to engage in that middle third. So I saw it in the first round as well, right, where Cork tried to play their 6 forwards up past the 45-yard line, and they left Will Donoghue free for a while in that middle, right, and then they had, let's say, Conor Cahalane helping out with the marking of Cian Lynch, basically, and not engage in the middle of the third. That was the theory behind it, right? Obviously, it didn't work, but it kind of worked in the first round to a degree because Limerick didn't push on. Tom Morrissey was taken off. Like maybe Limerick were kind of maybe on the upward curve at that stage. But that was the theory behind it. I do hear what you're saying. I do remember that in 2018. So I'm just, like I said, again, tactically, it's the influence of the Limerick team on the opposition when they sit down to discuss a game plan or personnel. It's just the influence. It just seems to be very overpowering at the moment.
But there's a fluidity.
I also think. Go on, Mac.
There's a fluidity to the Limerick team as well, TJ, because Hernady went in and Sean Finn at the start, and the first ball that went into Jack O'Connor, who was on Ballynash, and Jack O'Connor looked like he had to beat the Ballynash straight away. He took him on, and immediately Limerick changed Finn onto Jack O'Connor and put Ballynash onto Hernady. That doesn't happen by accident, TJ, like, you know.
I would have your.
I also think they may have looked at Waterford, lads. I also think they may have looked at the Waterford semi-final, Liam. And, you know, Waterford went crash bang in that first quarter. Like, the Stephen Bennett's hits and they still 4-3 down at the Water. And then they turn it on then for the second quarter. And maybe Kingston said that they have improved enough to take them on in a different way. You know, a running game. That's what we heard with the pace of Cork. Like, what I hated about all that was you would swear Limerick couldn't walk. Like, you know, this Limerick team have speedsters all around the field. Like, you know, so look, it's just, look, lads, I suppose, look, you could analyse it to death, but it's just one of those days, I think, where a great team hit high zones. You know, it's like a great horse hitting a great day where everything, he jumps well, he moves well, and the other team, you know, hits the first fence and he's out of stride going down to the second, and he's only the middling horse anyway, but people think he has a bit of form, he's younger, and like the great chaser kicks on, like, you know, that's that. I think you could maybe look at it like that, and, you know, beats him 20 lengths with the jockey looking over his shoulder, TJ.
I know. And I suppose, look, when you get dragged out of your comfort zone, I suppose that's where the true test comes, and can you survive, like, when basically this wave hits you, like you get punched in the nose, and like maybe that second quarter, like it was 2-8 to 1-6 at the water break. You know, it looked like to be moving nicely. Like Cork needed to come with something after that water break, just to kind of just stem the flow. I know Coleman went down for a while to try and see if he can stop it, but again, Limerick just kept piling in scores after scores after scores, and like to finish with 3-18 at half time. Jeez, 3-18. I know I heard a stat about how many in Ireland's we've won, like, but to concede 3-18 in one half of Hurling, and Limerick had 6 wides in the first half as well. And I think it was just phenomenal. Like, so if that second quarter did the damage again, like, and out of sight, then, like, when they're chasing it against this Limerick team, it's always going to be tricky, I think, then, because their game plan is going to be to the fore.
Yeah, lads, we got a team of the year last night from the lads. I had a vote. Do you know yourself now, Liam, when you're in the studio, you have a vote, or in live, like, you have a vote, but you've no chance of getting them on for that night, like, because they're all sitting around the table out in Montrose, like, you know. Yeah. I met Jackie Tyrrell late on last night. He arrived in, and of course he was kind of fresh and a long night's work, and I was kind of, I'm finished now, kid, and we've podcast in the morning. I said, how would you pick that team, like? You know, he knows it. 3 years later. I'm washing my hands. But look, Rafe, I think we have it there on the graphic, have we? Hope we have any other chart. We can call it out anyway if we haven't. Rafe could be gone to sleep there. He could have nodded off. He was up watching the Sunday game, I think, till about 3:30 this morning. Anyway, basically, it was Murph was in goal, Kilkenny, Sean Finn, Conor Prunty, Barry Nash.
I've started off there, Dalo, because I you know, and Murph is a brilliant shot stopper. I think he's the best in the game. But I think most of the goalies now, I think it's based on your distribution. I think that's the that's the big trump card in terms of your ability to get your hands in the ball when most of these goalies have the ball in their hand 30 or 40 times in a match.
I tried to tell them that a while ago, Liam, and they weren't listening to me. I'm delighted there's somebody here on a neutral point of view telling them, on our team, right? I don't care how many's out the field, right? On our team, Nicky Quaid is in goals, right? No argument.
Yeah.
Thanks,
When did any of us say he wasn't on the team?
I just kind of felt.
We're looking for accommodation list, Liam, if you can help.
Oh, yeah, we'll come back to that. I just kind of felt the reply.
We take a house.
You won 12 or something, right? So I felt that you were kind of disagreeing, but I'm just saying.
I wasn't.
We'll let you call out Sunday game team of the year, and then we'll argue with you.
Well, it was when Kilkenny got annihilated Waterford, similar to yesterday in 2008, probably the peak of their powers. Let's say the peak. They're very lucky to be Tip, obviously, the following year, and then Tip beat them. So their peak, I suppose, was 2008. They got 9 All-Stars. So I'm just going to compare it with that as well now. And they're known as the greatest team of all time. Maybe you're going to have the greatest team of all time, TJ. So it's 11-1-1-1-1 last night. So that, just to put in comparison, I'm not saying I wouldn't have Nicky. Come on, Rafe, boy. There we go, lads. So we take them there, lads. Sean Finch, automatic.
Was Rafe asleep?
Rafe, I'd say he was. He nodded off, I'd say, because I said, Timmy, we were ready to put that there, So let's take them along there as you go, Marco, TJ.
I'd say Barry Nash, I think Sean O'Donoghue had a tough day at the office yesterday, but going into the final, we say outside of Sean Finn, to me, he was the second best cornerback in the country, I'd have to say. And I wouldn't be plugging for any other player, only Sean O'Donoghue, to be honest about it. I thought that Sean was outstanding all year long. Fairness to Gillan, turned up trumps today, and Sean has had his number now on a couple of occasions, but Gillan was excellent yesterday. But with the amount of ball that was going in there, it was difficult for any cornerback. But up to this, I thought Sean was outstanding. I think he deserves a mention. I'd be voting for Sean. It'd be the only change I'd see, certainly in the full back line, in that corner position. And I'd be picking Sean over Barry Nash.
Liam mentioned Dan Morrissey. How brilliant he was when he came in and steadied the whole thing. And I think to be very severe and Barry Nash not to be there. I don't think he put a foot wrong here. And even then he excelled again yesterday. So I think overall, I don't know who coming into yesterday would have had my nod there as well. But I think you have to look at the All-Ireland final and say who showed up. And I think Nash showed up again. It's probably easy to say he showed up. Look, we debated Prunty, I think, was very good, in fairness to him. He missed a bit with an injury, missed a clear match. He came in, he's a fair back against him there. He's a man, isn't he? I thought again in the semi-final, he was. I mean, you kind of caught him early for the goals, but his character, he stood up then and played well afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's a great sign of the player, to get a jolt of the 2 goals early on, in a big game, and the way he recovered. He's a big player for them, and I think you've seen it. When he wasn't playing against Clare, I think they're a team that doesn't really function without Conor Prunty on the edge of the square. So he's a big player for them. And look, Jamie Barron is probably the one that, in addition to Conor, that might be a little bit unlucky. I feel, he did have some really. I thought his performances against Galway and early on against us. I thought Jamie Barron was very, very good. But look, as I said, there's a lot of quality right throughout the pitch, and again, Kilkenny, Leinster champions and All-Ireland semi-finalists. I thought Owen Cody had a really, really good year. He was the one player that was catching my eye. I think his ability to win his own ball and get scores. He's a player that I think is starting to flourish and starting to come. He'll be a big player, I think, for Kilkenny going forward. But yeah, it's a sea of green, I think, based on the performances we've seen. I mean, look, I think we got within 5 points of them after that. It's been double-digit wins and they had 8 points to spare again. Clearly, they've been emphatic in their performances, I suppose, throughout the year. Limerick have.
Yeah, and again, we won't go through everything. You have to. Barron definitely deserves a mention. I mean, the effect he had on Waterford when he came back after the Clare game, even the Laois game, how they struggled without him and his influence, and all Limerick half back line. Coming into yesterday, I would say Mahoney Coleman
O'Mahony,
would say, so
I would say Tim to me, Tim to me would have been the player, Anthony, from an R
Tim
half
and
back
Burnsy,
line.
would that be tight call?
I think that would be a flip of a coin now, to be honest with it. I think if Tim had a better game yesterday, he would be an automatic in it, and he'll struggle to get an All-Star now, I think, at the moment, based on yesterday's performance.
Dalo, a couple of things from my point of view. First of all,
then midfield. Go on, Tej, go on. Give it to us properly, no, Tej.
I'm going to give it to you properly, right? First of all,
15. You want 15?
No. Did you vote for Nicky Quaid?
Yes.
Thank you, Dad. That's fine.
It was a long time waiting for that.
That was
Yeah.
Look, it's unusual in a year that, let's say, all the hurler year contenders are all in the one camp. You normally have somebody coming up that had a very good season. That's unusual, right? We are blinded by the most recent game. That's just the way the mind works, and it's very heavily weighted towards the All-Ireland champions. The reality is Cork were good. Everybody spoke about them during the week. I thought they were a threat. They're entitled to a couple of players. They're definitely entitled to more than one player on the team of the year, for sure. That's the reality, right? Your most recent talk about Sean O'Donoghue, we will be blinded by the fact that he was peppered with ball. He didn't have a good All-Ireland final. That's a fact, but he had a very good season, right? To me, I had 9 players written down outside of the Limerick camp that had good seasons. Ozzy, Jason Ford, Sean O'Donoghue, Tony Kiely. I thought Cathal Malone, Dalo had a really good season in the middle field for Clare. Jamie Barron, Owen Cody was class. Patrick Horgan had a very good season. He scored 6 points in play in the semi-final. He got 2 points of play again yesterday. I know, and I've met Cork people who are hard on Hoggy, and they kind of say about this, that, and the other. But Jesus, the man is class. He gets scores. The amount of scores he's got in the championship to date. I know what people were saying he deserves an Ireland medal in this life. I know better than anybody who deserves. Fuck all. You've got to go and make it happen. That's the reality. Do you know what I mean? But in saying that, he had a super year, right? Tim O'Mahony is the last one there I had in the list that they had a super year. To go through the Limerick team, it's unusual that you can make a case for everybody. And based on the All-Ireland final display, you're drawn to, maybe one player kind of say leave him out. On your team of the year, Dalo, you pick 5 Limerick forwards and left out Gerard Hegarty. In a normal year, a fellow who scores 2-2 for play in the All-Ireland final is normally nearly a shoo-in, right? But we're trying to pick holes to try and leave 1 or 2 out. So that the call is hard.
There's about 10 votes now.
I know, but am I biased? Am I green glasses? And can I not see the freeze for anybody else? Yes, at the moment, right? But look, the reality is, to make the year that was there, other players contributed in a major way, and they're entitled to their piece. How many will Limerick get? Yeah, I'd say we could be pushing the boundary, all right. It was that convincing when you finish.
Yeah, I'd say our record has come on. What the record is? 10 at one stage.
It's 10. Limerick at 10 was last year, was it?
It's gone.
It was 9.
Was it? That could. It could be 11. Kelly will get one, I suppose. Waterford get one. Kilkenny get one. Cork might get 1 or 2. So that's the, Look, we could be betting it to death again. Brilliant stuff, lads. We want obviously we don't have games to analyse today, so we.
Yeah. What about the ref?
Go on, we're not going. Go on.
No, the ref, Fergal Horgan, possibly could be his last game, I think, at inter-county level.
Why is that?
I think if it is, Mark, he had a very good game, I thought.
Yeah, but he's a top class.
Is this one of the lenders' Monday morning stories now? Is it? Is this one of the lenders' Monday morning stories that we're searching in around Thursday on Google? We're on Google Thursday. Any more about that? What Mark told us there? Nothing about it.
Yeah, man. You see, thanks for the God I'm not on Twitter.
I think he's the best ref. He's the best ref.
Okay.
It's enough of pity he's in Tipperary because we never get to have him as a ref. we could do him at that time. He might let it flow.
He got all his education from refereeing plenty Tipperary senior matches, Liam.
He did. No, but as you said,
but you know what?
The ref isn't
talking about it. Great game.
Yeah, you're having a good game.
Correct.
He facilitated a good game.
Stayed calm at the finish, lads.
Yeah.
When the 2 Mary Eye boys had a go at each other, he stayed calm. He consulted. He consulted the sideline. He went back to the umpire. he spoke harshly. He said 2 yellows. Get out of my sight.
Yeah.
And lads, for me,
Good call.
throw 2 reds there now. And the do-gooders on Facebook and Twitter, it was a red card, And I'm like, look, the spirit of the thing has to be embraced as well.
Correct. Absolutely. We're all delighted. No arguments whatsoever with the referee. Fantastic.
Dalo, is Keane your hurler of the year?
Oh, Sheedy Mac, yeah. I thought maybe Kyle might have a say in it going into it yesterday. And sure, Kyle was very good. But Lynch just ran the show. Like, I easily the hurler of the year. Yeah.
Like he's getting
Liam, while we have you.
He's getting on the ball 20-25
Liam?
times a game. Like his possessions are off the charts, lads. You know, I mean, the amount of like the impact he's having, like to score 6 points is one thing, but to assist for 2-5, it's just incredible. Like, I mean, his vision, and, like he makes that hand pass over his shoulder just you know, it's so easy, and just he's a joy to watch. His trickery, his in close, and even, you know, Waterford went to take him on a few times. He just shifted direction, bang over the bar. He's the real deal. He's the real deal.
Even to delay the hand pass. Yeah, the delay and the hand pass Liam for the first goal was just unbelievable. Like,
absolutely. As you said, you hit the nail on the head, TJ. You can't coach what Keane has. It's just a raw talent, and his flair and his ability to change games with one pass and one vision. He's at the top of his game, at the peak of his powers. And, you know, it's very hard to take down Limerick if you can't take down Keane Lynch. And that was proven in every game this year. Nobody could really deal with him. We probably made the best fist of him for a while. And when we did, we were probably on top. But he eventually gets back up to the top again. Great sign of a great hurler. I thought his leadership today at the Munster final was very important to Limerick's turnaround. And to me, he is the hurler of the year for 2021 in my eyes anyway.
And like, his 5th point, lads, he didn't want to hit it over at all himself. He was looking for someone to give it to. And he said, "Jeez, I better put it over." So I suppose if there's no one loose, there's no one coming to me, I just thought. And another thing as well then is for Henry Shefflin to say to you halfway through the second half, we're standing on the rail and watching the game, back to the monitor, and the kids are out the back now, he says, and they're all Keane Lynch. Yeah. Like, for Henry Shefflin to say that, lads, that kind of puts it in context, doesn't it? You know, like he's the boy, I tell you. Liam, while we have you on, we have to ask you, like, who's going to take over? Like, there's a lot of vacancies around the country. Like, I don't know if you're finished with the management crack. I could get you up to do an out session in Clare if you want for a night, if you want a night out.
We could
bring you back to Murty's
before the year is out there.
Well, come here. We'll have to we stay local. Who's going to take over, Liam?
Sure. You know, I'd say, you know, if Liam Cahill wants to come back and take on his own, I'd say it is to be a seat that he'd be very welcome. Obviously, he knows the underage scene. He's been there, but he's done very well in Waterford too. So I'd say the first decision will be, you know, I'd say if Liam wants to stay at Waterford, I'd love to have him, and I'd say if Liam wants to come back to his own county, I'd say we'd love to have him here too. So I think this probably his first shot at it anyway. I suppose he's probably got the one that has to make the decision, and I think his decision then will vacate maybe another door or two. So it's going to be an interesting time. Like it is very, very high powered. There's a lot of work goes in. It's all consuming. Hugely enjoyable now. I love my 3 years. Had a ball, but you know, there's a whole lot has to go in. It's a very, very enjoyable but very, very time consuming and energy sapping journey. But as I said, I'm happy enough that I'll take it. I was lucky to squeeze that one, I think, in 19 and get out with another title in the second coming. So I'm happy enough with my innings to be straight with you.
And just Liam, just question, like, just for fellas listening in now, right? In terms of the time and the commitment, we say that you as a manager, but we say your selectors and your backroom staff now, right? What kind of time and effort are those guys giving? Just because, like, we can come on the podcast here and say, "Oh, Cork made this decision wrong," or any other selection committee for that matter. But just to give a bit of an insight there into what your selectors and your backroom staff are doing behind the scenes.
Well, we'd have training on Tuesday and Friday generally, and then the weekend. But we would be, you'd be leaving home at 4 to be in for 5 for a training session that starts at 7. That finishes then around 8:30. You're probably leaving Thurles sometime around 9:30, 10:15. You have a powwow after training and a bit of rub, so you're home around 11. So you're talking about 4 to 11. and you can add on another 2 hours to Eamon O'Shea, because when I get to Nina and I'm home, he's got another hour to go back up to his home in Salt Hill. So that's you'd be on Zoom calls definitely twice a week as a management team, generally on a Monday night, where you have a debrief for the week and what's ahead, and then you close it out at the end of the week with another one. So then you've got the individual I suppose conversations to be having with players. So look, it's a big operation, but I was very lucky, Mark. I had great people around me. You know what I mean? I didn't have to worry about anything that was going on in the pitch. Eamon and Tommy and Dara and Owen looked after all that. Dara Egan is a really good operator. Owen Kelly, one of the best, and obviously, Dalo spoke about Tommy and Owen earlier, or Tommy and Eamon earlier on. Like, I mean, two coaches at the top of their game that just connect with players in a really incredible way. So, but it's a big operation now. And as I said, it's hugely enjoyable. But I was lucky. I was, loved every minute of it. Suppose with a little bit of luck, we could have got a little bit closer. But that's hurling, that sport. Happy with my innings, happy with my time, and I've no regrets. I love every minute of it. I can go off to the stall now with TJ and Dalo.
Wait, a little bit of crack in the stall. Liam, they say in life you should never go back, and just from listening to you, it sounded like you really, really enjoyed actually going back, and obviously to have the success in Renault Ireland. But the question I'm looking, and I was having this chat with Derek McGrath Saturday night, is the current let's say coaching and knowledge required nearly almost frightening for people on the outside to look at actually nearly the level you have to be at to compete? Like it's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like the game is moving at a serious pace. The fitness levels of teams now is at an incredible level, and it's your ability to deal with chaos, because like there's chaos inside the white lines. The old format of puck it out and we'll all line up 1 to 15 is long gone. You know what I mean? And the movement that's happening, and it's about how you get to your team to play to its strengths, as you said, without trying to. I think if you're trying to bring down the opposition at their game, you're far better off trying to bring them down, playing your own game and playing to your own strengths. And I think that's maybe where teams are falling into a trap. But look, it's full on. But you're getting to deal with great players. I mean, the commitment that the players give, we're very, very fortunate. I think we've got the hurling's in a really good place. TJ, there was worries, not so long ago. We were worried about, will blanket defences and extra defenders, and would there be goals? And hey, presto! Yesterday in Ireland finally with 3-17 in the first half, we scored 2-16 in the first half in the Munster final, and Limerick beat that total in the second half. So I think hurling is in a really good place. The appetite for the game and the consumption of the game is in a great place, and it's a very, very competitive arena. I mean, you'd have to say outside of Limerick, on any other day, most teams would probably give themselves a fair chance of beating the opposition. And I think when you have that scenario, you're in a good place. And as you said, the Munster Championship, if Limerick are coming to Thurles, or Limerick are going to Ennis next year, there'll be all that, they'll have it all to do to come in and get out of those places, because that's the beauty of the Munster Championship, So and I think hurling is in a good place, but Limerick, this group of Limerick players right now are taking it to a new level, and the challenge for everyone else is trying to get up there, but they won't be easy. They won't be easy knocked. Serious side.
Liam, I have to. There's no kind of as he would. He nearly slipped quietly into I have to ask you about Brendan. What a special guy. Fortunate enough to get to know him a little bit through Richie and Barcelona. What a player was for you in the two innings.
Yeah, he was. And would you believe it, Dalo? First interaction I had with Brendan, I was over the North under 16 team, and Brendan Maher was 14 years of age, and he came into the pitch, and he had a special talent at that stage. But I was actually telling a story on Tip FM there. We lost the minor final. I think I was actually sitting beside you after the match. We got beaten by Cork. We were 5-up on Cork in the minor in the second half, and they went and beat us by 5. Patrick Horgan and them were on that team, and we went on and won the All Ireland. But the Wednesday night we were training, and I was saying, Jesus, I think it was one of the first times where the losers of the Munster final got a backdoor entry into the All Ireland. And we went in on the Wednesday night, and we were fairly low and deflated, but we had a bit of a team meeting on the ground on the grass in Morris Park, and Brendan Maher spoke, and I'm not joking you, he transformed the group in that 5 minutes. I says to the lads, hey, we're back on track here. That fella's after turning this whole thing around. And I think that's where I really seen his first entry into leadership. But like he was like on his day, Dalo, he's bulletproof on the pitch. He really is bulletproof. Some of the things he done for me, like, even in the Munster final in 19, when we were getting we were plugging holes everywhere in that second half. He was still inside playing cornerback on Aaron Gillan, and I thought he was attacking the ball like, he's just a superb. Anytime, whether it was TJ Reid or Aaron Gillan, the man you'd always send for is Brendan Maher. And remember, I put him back cornerback in that match in 06, and he plucked ball out of the sky in the All-Ireland final against Galway, and he was a revelation. But he's guys like him are hard replaced. He had a massive impact, on me. He had a massive impact on the dressing room, and it was probably instrumental in me going back in the first place for the second coming, because when you knew that those guys like that had your back inside that setup, it's a big thing. But he's a big loss. I think he's a big loss to the game as well, because he was in full flow even down in Cork, Mark, when he was playing against Ballygunner in that club championship. The way he brought the ball out of the sky and smacked it over the bar, and his pint against Thomas's TJ, which probably won't be reminded of.
Half a Hurling.
Yeah, a half a Hurley.
Brilliant.
So,
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that year with the that was just an unbelievable campaign. Himself and Dan, but Brendan again was instrumental. Dalo, before we get away from it, like with the interviews that are going on, is there anything going on in your world? Are you doing any interviews that you can share with us to say, are you available or anything like that? No, are you too busy pulling pints?
I'm interviewing the tree now, aren't I?
Just second.
Pulling pints. No, even my Mondays after the All Ireland are gone, Liam.
So you're not in the Palace Bar, no?
I used to always enjoy a bit of a day out. Monday the All Ireland, the Out Palace or the Boars or one of them, but gone bull, but not forgotten. No, TJ, do you know what, TJ? Yeah, the bar is good and busy, thank God, and this stuff has been hectic. Now, obviously, it changes after today a bit. And we'll be back, lads, for the club championship, hopefully, for the pod, with a few pods later on. But it's gas, like, isn't it? You get kind of consumed with other stuff, and you still love hurling for Jenny Mac. Like, actually, they're talking here at 3 o'clock with you, like, but like that's it's funny. You might have touched on it there, TJ, earlier on when you said that Derek and yourself talking about the levels, and I'm watching the Cork 20 management and the minor management being interviewed. Like, obviously, Brian, great job, and Noel Furlong, is it? And you're saying,
yeah,
these fellas want to step up to the next level, and I'm there. I'm not so sure. Like, I suppose, as Liam said, like, if you had that sort of structure that you knew you maybe had a Naaman, a Tommy Dunn, a Dara, and all, maybe you might be tempted in, like, that you could come in and manage it, but the days of kind of doing it all, taking training sessions, and that, I think, Jesus, that's the energy of a young fella. It's like, I don't know. Look at it. Love hurling. Jesus, hurling has fucking defined my life, and so but that's just it. New kids in the block, Tita, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Like, as I said, you need a strong backroom team, and plenty of people to challenge your opinion. And crikey, it's gone to a place now. It's tricky. A great place, great to watch, and great to work out your tactical.
Great place, huh?
Yeah, before we go away,
and look,
TJ, would you see any risk, TJ, of any of that backroom team? Not like, obviously they've been hugely successful, like, but there's a huge amount of time going in. Would Paul or any of them have an eye on anything else, or doing it? Like, would you say the backroom team will be around?
Liam, we try and get Alan Cunningham, Angus O'Brien, and Christy O'Connor, who was with Cork, back to Clare, maybe.
Yeah,
help. Alan Cunningham's the man that's in his ear all game, like.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I think, Liam, like, they just seem to be really tight, and like when you're winning and when it's going so well and you're part of something that's really, really special, I would say, like nearly everything that they're doing, they'll probably, even if you were struggling for time, they'll nearly find a workaround for you at the moment. They just seem to be all clicking into gear. So to answer your question is, in the short term, I can't. I would say, like, sure, if you were headed operations in Limerick, and the first thing you'd be doing is you'd be cementing them all for the future. And like, there seems to be just a great camaraderie amongst them. So like, now they can go and enjoy the fruits of what they've done there again this year, and relax and hopefully get a holiday and do everything that you're supposed to do as champions and enjoy this week. And I'm sure that they'll be doing everything in their power to keep it together. So no, I can't see anybody doing anything different in the short term.
TJ, you hit the crossbar in the fantasy.
I did. Look, we had a good. I have to say, first of all, congrats to Ken. Good win. I was hunting him all year. I was coming with a final run. I got an awful lot of decisions right. But I suppose a bit like my kind of management career, I came up short.
Fair play. If you had my score from yesterday, you'd have won.
I would.
If you had Gillane captain instead of Huggy. If you had Gillane captain instead of Huggy, you'd have won it, Joe. You know.
Possibly.
Fine lines. Mark.
18 points I was beaten by.
Yeah.
It's a huge successful year for me.
If you're up.
Dalo, I'm really happy, right?
I tell you, it's massive progress. Massive progress for you to get off the bottom. You know, I'd like to thank Pam Mulcahy for all the coaching. You know, thank Jackie for the time she allowed you to sit down and pick your team and make your changes. Now you still finished. If there was 2 to go down, you'd be gone down. But no, we'll give you the credit. The wooden spoon is on its way to Kilkenny. It's on its way to O'Loughlin Gales, the COVID stone. Oh, he made no effort after picking his initial team, Huggy. But anyway, that's a nice move up to the middle of the table for me. Still didn't beat the Temple-Derry Kenyon, of course. But look at credit to Ken.
Weren't you?
Sure, look at that. That's like an election, when the first count is made, TJ. Then the transfers are going to be counted, love and honor Jesus. But come here, lads. The main thing for me is I got 1,296. We go to our listeners table first, and it goes to Wexford, Glenbarn Town. Michael Daly, you were up there all year, Michael. In fairness, Joe, we mentioned Joe a few times, and we won't forget Marina in second place over in Italy. And we're going over to deliver the prize, the three of us, over a flight to Rome, and we're getting a train down to Venice, and we're going to meet Marina, drink some red wine over there in the off season. But well done to Michael. We prizes Butler's Hurleys again. Great prizes coming to us. And if you're on top of our league, lads, you're going to be up there in the overall league. So I didn't get to check that yet. But Adrian Moore and also for Moore and Hurleys in Westmeath contacted me this morning. Prizes on the post there. So there's a wooden spoon, but it won't be going to Killa. Well, come here. The big thing for me is, right, lads, all politics are local. You know the little mini leagues? Clarecastle Mini League coming second yesterday morning. With a score of 1296, I top it. My great buddy Colin Higgins. Higgy, 1295. 1 point. Sweet as enough, boy. Higgy, you're learning, and you're getting closer, Higgs. But not your time. Sorry, not your time. Have you any fogras you want to do, or we're up to an hour and 40?
Dalo, my buddy didn't make the leader page here in the finish. No, so I haven't. Yeah, okay. And
the hull around the ditch.
Yeah.
The hull around the ditch
from Nina. He faded.
We still don't know his name, that TJ.
Still know his name, but anyway. And I see John Paul O'Connor there, who I know he's a little bit of coaching the guys playing. Actually, he finished 5th there on the overall page, so I shout out to him. So yeah, good league. Just a little bit short. The old Mark was kind of booming there early doors. The Corkness was flying, but a bit like the end of the season championship, Marco went out and enough, didn't it?
Gary Spinansel is aware of the timber off you, boy.
Dalo, I have one for our listeners. I think we should throw a challenge for the Peter Casey shuffle. It can be in the bar, in the kitchen, or on the pitch. Right? Maybe later on tonight.
Okay.
See, can you do the Peter Casey shuffle?
Hashtag
all videos. We link it. Yeah. We've got half a Limerick tonight now on the Peter Casey shuffle. Anyway, But lads, I suppose look, we to wrap it. A little bit of a sad note, lads. I just great friend of my sister. My sister Marion lives in Bruff. Married to Pat, great Limerick man. 4 Limerick sons. Martine, as you know him, Tej. But they buried their parish priest yesterday, Father Joe Foley, Father Joe is a legend in Bruff, and I suppose he's there 17 years. So I maintain he would have given Sean Finn his first communion, So he died at 57, So young man, and just want to pay tribute. I got to meet him 2 or 3 times, and he was a great character. He was just an amazing company to be in, full of fun, and yet a great leader in that community. So I have to mention that. Lads, just to thank Larry and Rafe, brilliant work all year, and we won't be finished, as I said. To really thank Renault, backing us all the way, Paddy McGee and the lads. And look, great show to finish up. We had a great show Friday night. I think having you, Liam, today and the insight you gave us, it's incredible insight just to be able to get that. And too many pods now getting a fella telling us what system we try to operate, take on this juggernaut that we have at the moment. So it's fantastic to have you to finish the intercounty setup. So thanks, lads, and enjoy the bank holiday Monday that is the All Ireland Hurling final Monday.
Lads, I have a spare seat. 2 or 3 o'clock there in Limerick.
At your table.
Around. Yeah, give Dalo a shout there if you want to call in and have a chat about.
I could be on the way down.
If you're on the way down, Dalo, yeah, we have a seat. Yeah, we'll look for someone to come on. Actually, I met a buddy of yours, Dalo, on Saturday night, Sambo, who's a great listener of the podcast. He said he likes listening to you, but he told me he was shouting for Cork. Came over to tell me especially he was shouting for Cork. So just a shout out.
Sambo famously said.
What?
TJ, do I tell you, I love Sambo, don't get me wrong, and that's one of my things I'm going up there, like, definitely. But Sambo taught me one time, or he put in an examiner one time for all the world. It was, I think this was around 98, and we were playing Cork in the Munster semi-final. You were playing, Mark, your team, before you came to final year.
Yeah.
And Sambo said, my heart says Cork, but my head says Clare. We'd 4 All Irelands won in our lives, like. Cork with 30 something. It's a Sambo, like, I'm on your side here, kid. I want Antrim up the top. Like, my heart says Cork. So he is a graph for Cork, Sambo. We don't. We get over it.
I think Sambo and Kieran Kingston are buddies, TJ.
Yeah. No, he told me the story. To be fair, yeah. But I was trying to tell him Dalo's story there as well. But yeah, he told me about himself and Kieran Kingston. But yeah, good crack with him again Saturday night. He's a passionate man, like, and yeah, we had good fun with him. Yeah.
How's Davy Russell?
Davy was in top form, yeah. He was a small bit worried about the power play. In fairness to him, no, he got it bang on with his tactics. I was trying to tell him where I was coming from, but he wasn't having none of it, yeah. So we had a good crack. So, yeah, in fairness to Davy, he dropped me home. Do you know when says tough to get a taxi there later on a Saturday night in Dublin? In fairness to Davy, teetotaler, loves the old cup of tea. Yeah. So he dropped me home.
He give you anything for Ballinrobe this evening, no?
No, he's doing his best to try and get back there for his goal. He's trying to get back on the horse. He's doing a lot of physio and training and nutrition work at the moment himself. Like, so, yeah, you'll see him soon. Like, so he said he might have something for us down the road.
Okay.
Be patient.
We'll see you at the Harvest Festival, lads.
Absolutely, Liam.
We'll see you in Ballybunion.
Ballybee, right?
I'll see you in the exchange, Liam.
Yes,
exchange.
or
the bunker. Up your cocoa. Great stuff, lads.
With Renault, passion for what drives you. Official car partner of the GAA.
A grain of rice. A grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lads.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.